Hello everyone, I'm Nate King, News Director for the Salina Post and 910 KINA. I'm here with Dan Finnegan, Mayor of Ellsworth, to talk about some of the exciting new developments taking place here in Ellsworth, as well as some challenges that they have had to address over the past year. Dan, it's great to talk to you today.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate you coming. Appreciate the crew to come out here. And we just want to do a little wrap up for 2023 and just thank you for responding and being there for us.
Absolutely. No, we're going to get into some kind of exciting topics, and
Sure.
I'm looking forward to it. So, Dan, tell us a little bit, what has the City of Ellsworth accomplished this year?
I think a lot. When you put it all together, it's substantial. We've installed new water meters, which allows us to kind of measure water usage a lot more accurately. We've created a whole new library board that's functioning very well. Sometimes in small communities that is a challenge, that has been a challenge in the past in Ellsworth, but this one, I sit on that board, is just outstanding. We've also voted for and started the multi-use path that's going to run between Good Sam and downtown.
Oh, very
So
good.
it's going to be basically a wide sidewalk that we could use. It allows the folks that live in this part of town a little bit more of a safe access to downtown. So great place to exercise. We've done that. It's actually in process. We got a cost share sidewalk project accomplished in downtown. So a lot of old sidewalk got repaired, and I think people really loved it. They loved the quality of the work.
You had said cost share program. Tell us a little bit about what that means.
I think the city, picked up some of the costs, as did certain businesses that it went in front of.
Gotcha.
So they were, very, open to it, and I think it, benefits them too. So we were able to accomplish that, and that is mostly done at this point. So
very good.
Yeah. A couple other things we've done is we are going to start resurfacing Douglas Avenue next year.
Wow.
So
Main Street right here in
Main Street, right, and that's an important piece because there's some drainage issues downtown, and it's something that needs to be done, fairly regularly. So it's time to do that. So we've done that, and we also, I'm looking at my we've got a snow shed. We just approved that. That will be paid for primarily by the FAA.
Oh.
And the City of Ellsworth will have to pick up part of that, and we're going to build a snow shed for snow equipment at the airport. So that's taking advantage of those opportunities that are out there. And
Sure.
And I think one thing I'm really excited about is we voted to vacate the public parking area between the Ellsworth Steakhouse and Casey's, so that Casey's can purchase the entire property. They'll take down the steakhouse, take down the car wash, and they're going to use it for more fuel and truck, type operations. So
right, and
yeah.
that parking lot in Casey's can be a little bit crowded on a noon hour. So definitely interested and excited to hear that will be expanded.
Right, and so our fingers are crossed that they'll make the store a little bit, they'll expand it a little bit, and we hope that down the road they'll do that. But just excited for that opportunity too. So
and I
a
guess
lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things,
yeah.
and also kind of sad in a way though too, because we are saying goodbye to the Ellsworth Steakhouse.
Correct, right. There's some nostalgia there, and several families have used that building. But I think looking down the road to the future, that this is the right decision. I'm proud of the council for making that decision. So.
Very good. So we were just talking about some of the successes that we've
Right.
had here in Ellsworth, and now it's time to talk about the not so fun thing to talk about, which
Sure.
is challenges or
Yeah,
roadblocks.
right.
What are some challenges that you've had to face and kind of go up against during your time as mayor?
I think really in the last year, the biggest challenge, of course, is Krizik Park. And, it's a park that was part of, creating a drainage for the downtown area, and especially to protect the businesses. And so it just was finished about a year ago. And I think that the citizens and, the council felt like just wasn't finished in a way that we wanted. So went through a pretty extensive amount of legal research and a lot of meetings just to see, what is our recourse? What kind of, avenues do we have to possibly recover some of the investment that we made, and really to try to, get KDOT and Kirk and Michael possibly to return and clean it up a little bit. And today we just came out with a legal letter that really spelled out the fact that this was, probably not a good move for the city. That the amount of investment in legal fees and the time and all of the our time too, the
Right.
elected officials, the city administrator, that it would take, the net gain just isn't there. So we sent out a letter just today and so the public will have access to that. And so I think that's probably been one of our largest challenges. So we're definitely excited about pivoting to talking about what can we do with that property. And I can tell you at the city council meeting, the mood was very positive, very engaging. The imagination was flowing, and I think that people are really ready to take that park and just see if we can make it look a little bit better. So that's been a big challenge.
Yeah, and especially with that park being such a one of the first things that you see when you come into Ellsworth off of Old 40. Right. It really is important for it to be.
Absolutely, and I think the good thing is that we learned a little bit why the decision was made to build that, and I think it all makes sense. One of our big goals and objectives in the future is to really protect the downtown area. It is considered now a flood zone, so we've got to do all that we can do to build a case to make sure we protect the interests of those business owners, because we have a very nice looking downtown. A lot of historic buildings, a lot of money's been spent on them. So that's going to be our priority, and we probably will see more projects like this. And quite frankly, we've learned a ton, in doing a project like this. So I think what we'll do is we'll have some discussions about, where do we want to go from here, and we'll have just a positive spirit. And so I think today kind of begins that journey.
Very good, very good. And I think too, Dan, how has, in your role as mayor, working on this project in particular with Parks and Recreation, you're having to work with the Parks Director here in Ellsworth. How has that been, having some of these challenges?
Great relationship, very positive, constructive, good debates. If we don't agree, we always want to hear the other person. And so at the present time, it's stable. The park looks okay. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of work on the mowing of the banks, and then we recently cut down the cattails to see what it would look like. So time is on our side. We can kind of look at this in the last year and just see what it looks like before we make any decisions. So I think that attitude by all the staff and then the council has been helpful. They've not been overly anxious. And I think what we want to do is produce the right result.
Of course,
so,
absolutely, because especially with one, having it not get the great results that you wanted, to now do it right the next time.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, good to hear. And any other challenges that you feel as though you really are facing in the community? I think
one thing that we face is our relationships with our stakeholders. I think that we want to strengthen them to where it's as good as any city stakeholder relationship. So we're gonna really work on that, and how do we do that? And cities are a little bit vulnerable in that area because we do have turnover. We have new personnel. Their personalities are different. Their how they perceive things is very different. So I think maintaining those communications and trying to build those relationships are going to be critical to the future, and that's one of our challenges. The next challenge that we have taken action on, but we have a long ways to go, is how we communicate, and that's why we're here today.
Right.
We're taking action. We're putting together a video, hopefully to be shared by a lot of people, and we want to do more things like this more frequently. We need a better audiovisual setup in our council chambers so that people can see us, they can hear us better, and so we have done a ticketing system. City administrators put that together where people can, they could submit a suggestion or complaint and he can file it. So we've done that. We've also just recently with Eagle Communications taken advantage of some radio advertising. Wonderful. To advertise the election and our golf course. And it's produced very positive results. So communications is a huge challenge. We realized that we had a water main break in February, and we did the best we could to get the word out, but we realized we just got to do better. So we're looking at solutions that are cost effective, but also, we also realize we're never going to be perfect communicators, but that is a challenge. So,
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, and I think it's always good to address it and recognize that there is a problem. And like you said, that transparency piece is just all the more important.
Absolutely.
And we learned that during the pandemic, I think, if not anything.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you. And so you had mentioned it just a little bit there, talking about the election. November 7th is the upcoming election, everyone. So make sure that you have a plan to figure out to vote. But what would you have to say in regards to this election as to why people should turn out to vote?
Yeah, I think the municipal elections are, they're off years. So you got 2021, 23, 25, 27. I think they have the most impact on your life. I mean, they're not as well publicized. There's not a lot of, television advertising and that type of thing. The entertainment value is not as great, but they're critical because, we're making decisions that impact you locally. Like we're sitting here in the rec center. Prior councils have made those decisions, and now we have a rec center that impacts you. If you want to come play pickleball, here we are right here. So these elections are huge. So we definitely want to do what we can do to get the numbers of people who vote up. And this is an attempt to do that as part of why we're here today.
Yeah, I know in Salina County, it can get as low as between in that 16-20% range on municipal elections. But whenever we're talking about a presidential election on one of those even years, it can be up in the 60% range. So there's a very large gap there. I don't know what the numbers are here in Ellsworth, but I could guess that it would be similar.
I think we're at 21% in 2021, which is like 1% more than it was in 2019. So there's a little bit of an uptick. But I have researched other communities that are comparable to Ellsworth, and they can approach 40% in a municipal election, but we probably could do better, and we'll work on it.
Absolutely, and I think, like you said, part of that is conversations like this and reminding people once again, one more time, that you got to have a plan to vote.
Correct.
So, absolutely. And Mayor Finnegan, you're not up for election this year, correct?
I'm not. No, and in 2 years I will be. I haven't made a decision on what I'll do. I love what I do. I've learned a ton. And we'll just kind of take it as it goes. I mean, 2 years goes quick though, so I've already half of my term is up. So
and looking back now, we're at the halfway point. I mean, you said that it feels like it's gone by really quickly. Why do you think that is?
I think we're so busy. We're tackling so many projects, and so many things just come up out of the blue that we've got to deal with. And every 2 weeks is a meeting, so 2 a month. It just goes very, very quick. So I feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like I've grown. I'm becoming more effective, and I like it better now than when I first started. So
well, that's good to hear.
It is. It is tiring. I'm not going to lie. Sure. It's learning how to budget your time, and that's the big challenge. Is not becoming overcapacitated is really the grave danger of this job, and burning out and things like that. But I think I've got a good balance of the different things I work on. So
very good to hear. And speaking of balance, let's talk just a little bit about that, the roles and responsibilities of the mayor, because I know depending on what city you're in, the role of mayor kind of has different duties. So tell us a little bit about what the role is of the mayor here in Ellsworth.
I think the mayor has kind of a dual responsibility. The public relations piece that we're doing right now, the communications piece is a role of the mayor. But if someone else wanted to do that, I invited the entire council. Had they wanted to come, they certainly could have participated. The other major responsibility of the mayor is the management of the meeting. What goes on the agenda, what it's a priority, what's not, and working with the city administrator to come up with a really nice agenda. You don't want the meeting to go too long. You want the public to speak, but you want to set some parameters on how they speak. And then you really are the CEO of the community. You have the ultimate responsibility, and it does rest on your shoulders. So I think for me, a lot of major responsibilities I'll get very involved in. The things that are potentially challenging for the city, I'll get involved. But a lot of these smaller decisions, I'll just become a person who's running the meeting and listening, and providing what knowledge I can. But ultimately, I'm typically not a voting member of the council. I'm part of the governing body, but they'll have the vote, and they'll listen. They will. But ultimately, it's the vote that's going to pass an ordinance or not. So,
sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the mayor, you said, votes in to break that tie.
Correct.
Now, the city administrator is a non-elected person. They're hired by the city.
Right.
So tell us a little bit what differentiates the position of mayor from city administrator.
I think the city administrator runs the staff. They handle all the day-to-day administrative functions. They have financial discretion up to a certain limit. And I think where the mayor and the council get involved is when there's a higher spending limit, something that could put the city in legal peril. The council and the mayor will get involved. So I think really the city administrator is he's basically the guy that runs the city.
Right.
That council's there for a checks and balance, and he's good about calling council, seeing what they think. Gaining some approval or disapproval, So, he's constantly calling all of us and getting our opinions. And so he's done a great job. He's listened well. He's grown. We talked about some of the accomplishments. One of the big accomplishments is that our city administrator lives in Ellsworth, and Ellsworth has always wanted that, right?
Absolutely.
Not only has he lived here, but his wife bought a very important business. They bought the Payden's Place restaurant.
Oh my God, wow.
So so she is working day and night trying to build that restaurant up. So, that's an added bonus, and I give the council credit and for hiring him, and he's done a super job. So
great
we're
to
really
hear.
happy.
Yeah, it's always good to have to not have turnover in that position.
Absolutely.
Because it is, like you said, it's such a crucial position to have in your city government.
Right, and that does remind me, we do have another challenge, and we need to hire a water supervisor. So if anybody knows somebody with that background, we'd love to talk to them. So that position is available. So I want to use this opportunity to, if you've got a son, daughter, aunt, or uncle that wants to move back to Ellsworth and they've got that background, we'd love to talk to them.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Dan, you aren't from Ellsworth. You didn't go to school here, high school.
Right, that's right.
And so, Dan, you've been a part of the Ellsworth community for more than 2 years now, but have been serving as mayor for 2 years. How have you been received by the community?
I think it's outstanding. I tell you, the most important thing for me is when I go to the grocery store or somewhere out in public and I just see someone staring at me smiling. It's like, it's an unspoken approval. It's just a warm, they don't have to spend 10 minutes talking to me, but they know, who I am. And I think that's just a sign they appreciate the work that's going into it. And, I like that. And I got to do the national prayer meeting back in May, and just to be with the pastors and even be with that group was such an honor. So being invited to these different things, I get to write a little piece for the local newspaper every once in a while, which is really cool. I've always been, wanted to write for the paper, and now I've been very welcome to do that, and that's been great. So outstanding, and I think as time goes by, I meet more and more people. I would have thought originally, I'll meet everybody within the first 2 or 3 months. It doesn't work like that. When you're not from here, you just have to kind of get out there and meet somebody one at a time, and it just grows. So
right,
yeah, outstanding. I mean, it's been great.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I guess on the flip side, you've been received well by the community and have been meeting more and more people every day.
Right.
But what has been one thing that you've learned from the community of Ellsworth?
I think the community of Ellsworth, does have some methods and some traditions and ways of doing things that provides them with comfort. And so you have to allow people to have that. You can't just shake that up immediately. One thing we are working on is property mitigation and cleaning up Ellsworth. We have a big was the Big Kansas road trip in May.
Right.
So we've got to get things cleaned up. So people don't like being told what to do, but at the same time, you have to honor and respect the people that want to see them clean up. So I think that's a long-standing tradition that people just don't want a notice on their door. Nobody does, but I think in Ellsworth maybe a little bit more than some communities. And so we've got to get people used to buying in. The more we clean up, the more we attract business, the more we sell our homes, the more we grow. And here's our opportunity in early May to, partnering with Grow Ellsworth and the fine leadership of Stacy Schmidt to provide that cleanup. So I think that's something that I've learned about Ellsworth, that you can't just come in here first year and say, all right, we're going to make all these changes. It's a slow incremental thing. And so the staff's done a great job. They bought into it, and it's not as clean as we'd like to be, but boy, there are communities that struggle a lot more than we do. So we're doing fairly well.
Yeah, no, and I think learning about those traditions from Ellsworth in this community is something that they respect as well.
Sure.
Given that too.
Correct, and I think being not from here, you've got to be even more respectful. And I think that that's something that I've thought a lot about. How do you take primarily an agricultural community and sprinkle in some new people? How do you make this work? But if we can kind of make it work, I think we'll have the magic formula. And I think you see that at times. And, it shows in the businesses that we've been able to attract and retain. And, we can certainly grow in that area, and we work on it. I know that Grow Ellsworth works on it all the time.
Right.
With Leadership Ellsworth and things like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Dan, anything else you would like to share or talk and express to the folks of Ellsworth today while we have this conversation?
Yeah, I think the two big news events, and I'm very proud of one of them. I'm certainly proud of the way we've handled Chiswick Park. I think people have been patient. They've understood how complicated it is. They've been respectful, and I think I am very optimistic we're going to have a result that a lot of people are going to like, and we're going to be able to grow from it and become stronger. So I think that's the big news, is the legal piece. The other big news is we should be, I might as well just come and make the announcement, and I appreciate the Cowtown committee for allowing me to say this, but August 2nd and 3rd, 2024, we are going to have a Cowtown Festival.
Wow.
They are going to bring in a Nashville-based singer. It'll be a pretty big name, and but with that, a lot of the traditions will be changed. We're going to ask a little bit more for paying for items that maybe people didn't have to pay for in the past. I think to keep it on financial strong footing as we move into the future. So really excited about that. I've spent a lot of time with those folks, really like them, and we've worked hard, and the leadership of that group is strong. We still need more volunteers though, so that's a concern. So we can't just say, oh, we're going to have Cowtown for the next 20 years. We're going to have it in 2024, and then we hope people receive the fact that we need to charge for certain events that were free before, and the community's got to come out and volunteer to provide that manpower. And I think that this could be an awesome event. It really could be, and I hope that once people see it, that their imaginations will be like, we can really have a great festival here. So super excited to announce that today.
So Dan, Cowtown Days is going to be next August in 2024. Tell us about some other exciting events that are going to be taking place in 2024.
Yeah, I think I'm really excited about having a discussion with the school board and with the city council about potentially forming a recreation commission. A lot of work has to be done to decide, how would that work. But I think it's just would be a real accomplishment for Ellsworth County, and would help some of the outlying communities and the school system, and do a lot better job of sharing our resources and helping each other out a little bit better. So a lot of discussion has to go on before we ever get to that point. That would be one large thing. I think the next thing that's going to start to enter into the picture is we're going to try to gain approval to use TIF funding to demolish the hospital. And we made the first move or vote was just a few days ago. To kind of begin that process. So we'll see where that goes. And then the third thing is, of course, supporting Grow Ellsworth in the Big Kansas Road Trip. So it's a fantastic opportunity to bring a lot of people into Ellsworth in our area. So we want to highlight our city, surrounding areas as much as we can, because we're going to have an audience there ready to go. And so, we've got another 7 months to get ready. So we want to kind of put that on our radar.
Absolutely. That's so exciting. Stacy Schmidt has talked to us about, all of what the big Kansas road trip entails. And so very exciting for Ellsworth to be the destination for that.
Absolutely. So
very good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Dan, I think that wraps it up. It was great talking with you today and hearing a little bit of an update as to what's all going on in Ellsworth. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Nate. Thank you, Eagle Communications, for being so responsive. It's the second video we've done. We'd like to do them at least once a year, and so it's great to see you again and work with you, and get a chance just to update the community. I do think that sometimes they get fragments here or there from the newspaper, from different meetings, so this is a good comprehensive overview of what's been accomplished this year, what to look forward to next year. So I really appreciate your efforts.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Nate.